Hey gang, can you see me and hear me? Hi Mike, Smoo and Dave. You've all said exactly the same thing. I think it's a conspiracy. I think you're all communicating behind the scenes. Let me know if you can see me, hear me, and all that nonsense. I actually forgot all about the Triumph Herald. Don't! You know me, I don't do cars. Making sure everything's working. Item momentum bitter. Hi Vincent. What's this then? I is busy placing last decal on Yamato and someone's going live. Yeah, I pressed a button, I think. You know me, I'm pressing buttons. Yay, cool. Hey John. We can Fox. I can typing. Give it a few minutes for people to set up. Robert Powell, I needed this today. Hey Robert. I'm trying a different camera angle, which means my head might be here, so you might just see my entire face. Hey Jan. Nope, I can't hear you. I bet you can. Let's see the beard then. It's only a trim around the sides. Hang on, I don't even know if I can get in shot because it's too close. Look. Trimmed. Hello. Trimmed. There's a little Turkish barbers near me and they do proper like cutthroat shaves and everything. It's like, oh yes. First time I found a barber that can actually do beards in the old style. Snow day from work, bored, says John. Yeah. Eyes and ears. Morning, see and hear. Words and pictures. Hey Angus. What doing, says Fester. This is a conspiracy. God damn it. I'm just going to give it a few minutes for everybody to turn up. We're going to be doing some paint chipping on this beast. Oh, I've got coffee because it's too late. I'd never get to sleep if I had coffee, so I've got the waters. So I probably need to go for about 6 wheeze. Thank you very much, Fester. It's quite good. I basically said to him, don't touch the front, but can you make the sides go in a bit so I don't look like kind of a hobo? He said, I know exactly what you mean. I'll sort it out. Thank you, Robert. The only downside is, of course, I'll have to go back every couple of weeks to get it trimmed. Which, you know, is not cheap or convenient. Hi, Fox, what doing? Right, I'm going home now. I'm going home. Chipping. There you go. Or trying to do chipping. Maybe. Now, one of my followers on the YouTubes suggested something today which was so bleeding obvious. I don't know how I ever thought of it. You know how I've got my wet palette and I have it in a sandwich tub and it's dead tall and I'm always trying to do this to get the paint out of it. Yeah, he just said, why don't you just turn it upside down and just use the lid? So I've got all the paint in the lid. It's so much more convenient, and I don't know why I never thought of that before. It's because that is special. Dave says, did I have hot towels? No, I was only there for 10 minutes, only a quick trim, so it wasn't a proper sit down. But he did say, would you like a nice cup of Turkish tea? There's a little tiny glass with all the dark tea in it, and it was really, really sweet. And I said, have you put sugar in this? And he said, a tiny amount. Because you're a white guy, so we'll give you a tiny amount of sugar. I said, no, I don't want any sugar. I want it proper Turkish tea. But next time. But it was really nice. Hey, Chris. 2 tugs is in the house. Right. Camera's on. Sniffles have started. There you go. Right, so let's get cracking. So we're going to be doing some chipping on this puppy. All the base coats are on. All the base colours. All the metallics have done. I painted that light blue because of the reasons. I thought, why not? All the null oil and stuff and dry brushing has been done on the metallics. So before I go ahead and do any decals and that, I'll do some chipping. Now I know it means I'm going to have to go and back and do more chipping over the decals, but I wanted to do something on the stream. And there's only about 6 decals, so yeah. What do we get? I've got 2 brushes. I've got my Winsor & Newton Series 7, thanks to Mike or Chris or whoever sent me that. Thank you very much. And I've got that brush I posted up the other day. It's a base brush, but it's got a hook on the end. And it's great for tiny details. So we might have to try that for some bigger ones. Robert Powell says, I really like the colours. Is that a faction colour or is that a Fox exclusive? No, it's standard blue for Space Wolves, and they like the yellow as well. So This is standard. That is standard. This and this I've just kind of added. There's loads of other little bits of colour I've got to add, but they're not base colours, like all the little motifs on the side and the gold things and stuff, so they'll be done later on, so leave them for now. I don't think this will go on too long tonight, because it's like 10 o'clock. I was watching Dirk Gently, and I got carried away, and suddenly it was 9:45, so oops. The chat's working. Hey Phil. Just finished playing some Forza on the Xbox, says Chris. Racing games. Yeah. No fun. So, we are going to start on the blue. Now, I said this in my latest video, but it's still on Patreon only at the moment. I've been rough handling this all week. I've been handling it and passing it back and forth, and I've got my ring on my hands that has been knocking against it. So it's kind of done some chipping already. I've already got some paint chips all over it just by rubbing the paint off. These paints aren't that hard wearing. So let me move the camera down a bit. Is it a bit high? There we go, it's a bit better. I think it's not on the stand anymore. Yeah, so I've been roughhousing it all week and just like knocking it around and dropping it and throwing it. TK says, what idiot starts a live stream at this hour of day? Where's it pointed? This idiot here on this side of the camera. I was just saying I was going to start it earlier, but then I had 3 episodes left in season 2 of Dirk Gently, so I kind of had to watch that. Yeah. So we are going to start with some Fenrisian Grey. I can't remember what I call it, so I can't make that joke. Some of the wet palletings. Wet palette. Been a miserable, wet, miserable, cold day today. It's been horrible, horrible day, horrible weather. I was glad to get out of it this earlier on today. I've just realised my water pot's there and it's right in the way of all the camera shenanigans. So you're going to see my arm a lot. I'll put it over there, it might be easier. Just don't let me put it in my actual glass of water. That will be a bad thing. I've got some Fenrisian Grey and I'm going to mix in some White Scar. To get a lighter blue than the actual base colour. I don't know how much I'll get done tonight, so I might not be on that long because it is late. I know this. That's not. Was that light enough? Maybe a little bit more. Little bit more white in the blue. Probably still not enough. God damn it. That might be enough. That might be enough. That'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't panic, Fox. It'll be fine. Oh, nearly put my paintbrush in there. Holy cow. That could have gone wrong straight away. The camera's in the way of the text now. Nate Bliss says, hey Nate, he was about to start a new game with Stellaris, then YouTube's interruptions. Well, this is much more fun. Mike Mountain, the taxman's best friend does live streams at this hour. Yeah. Phil says, this is great. I've been fighting with the Revel boxer for the past few hours and needed to step away for a bit. Yes. Always a good idea. TK says, almost DS9 binge time when the missus is done watching on some musical on the TV. Yeah. What series are you up to, TK? Which series? That painting station might be nice to preserve my bench a bit when slapping on the weathering. You can't actually get these anymore. They only made them for a while. And then they stopped making them. And I went into my local gate. I looked online for one of these. And there was some dolt selling them for like 300 quid each. It's a piece of plastic. Like 300 quid a pop. And I'm like, no, I know they're discontinued, but they're not worth that much. So I went to my local Warhammer store. And I was talking to Chris, the manager. I mentioned about that. And he said, I've got one of those in the back. You can have it. Gave me this scratchy old covered in paint thing. So I've primed it. I painted it up in grey. I forgot to prime it. So some of the paint's coming off, but it doesn't matter. Right, let's get on with this shizzle, shall we? I'm just going to do little bits of my seeing helmet. Hang on. Doing this little painting. So I'm going to start with some light blue on the light blue. The idea being that when I've done the light blue, I'll go back in then with a black or a dark grey and paint inside the paint chips. Right, let's start somewhere I can access easily. Here's an edge. I like edges. My hand going to be in the way all the time. Just in the wrong place. Oh, it's far too big. And an edge. There's an edge. Let's do this one. Oh, these are going to be massive. That's a bit too bright, I think. Put some more blue in. 2. Right. Wow. Going well already. Already got my colour wrong and everything. Oh, okay. Already got my colour wrong. Nearly put my brush in my water glass. Can the paints behind the model be used for Gunpla? Yeah, they're Citadel acrylics. I've used them on Gunpla before now. They're my favourite paints to brush. They're just the best paints to brush that I've ever come across. But they're just standard water-based acrylic paints. And they're fantastic for brushwork. You can use any paint on a Gunpla. Vallejo, AK, anything like that. I just happen to like these because they're awesome. Right, should we try that again? Bit of a better colour. Let's try that again, shall we? Once more with... Oh, sorry, knocking the camera. Start as you mean to go on. Unfortunately, yes, I can't actually see the chat because it's where the camera is. Ryan. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Jason. Hi, Ryzen. Right. Try this again, shall I? But my hand's going to be in the way. Shall I move the camera up and over a bit? It might be a bit easier, mightn't it? Hang on. See if I can wangle this somehow. This will kill the focus, so let me adjust the focus. This is all just faffing about now, isn't it? Oh, hang on a minute. Let me do some adjustment. Am I going to be painting? I'm going to be painting here. So you want to be able to see what's going on. Technical adjustments. Right, let me change the focus. Make sure you're all in focus. Talk amongst yourselves. And that's what 12 beers looks like. Yeah, I think we're in focus there. Right, should we just get this S show on the road? Right, let's get cracking, shall we? I'm trying to go for small and tiny, and also not too obvious. But these are going to be a light blue colour. And of course, then once these are done, I'll go over them again with a darker grey or a black. Fill some of them in. So it looks like you've got the light blue is the fresh paint that's been exposed. And the darkness would be the primer or the metal underneath. And as always, I'll do far too much chipping. I always do. But you can see why I fancied some company while I was doing this, because it does get really, really boring. Oh, Robert Powell, just finished watching the Buster Gundam build. Yep, that was all done with Citadel paints. All jolly good fun. I'm just getting this done basically over the next week or so, and then once this is done, I'll finish the Punicron, the big mega-sized Punicorn. And I don't know what comes after that. Now I've got that big Imperial Knight. I'm like, oh, I'll do that, couldn't I? I don't know. We'll see. So the trick here is just to do tiny dots. I like to kind of focus on the edges first. Just because the edges are where you get wear and tear naturally. And I know you probably can't see any of this on camera because it's so small. Some of these dots are going to be microscopic. But what I will need to do as well is do some scratches and stripes and streaks. Or scratches and that. To go around as well. Because it's not all going to be chips. Yay, Fox and Overman, light shift from boredom. That's Frozen. Hey, Frozen. Ooh, holy Jeebus, that was close. Put the deck on Yamato, totally forgetting there's 2 more LEDs Brown had when prying that apart. Yeah, hi John. I only said hi Mike then, but I already said hi Mike to Mount Mountain. It wouldn't be a live stream without Mike Mountain in it. Now you can see there I've got, I don't know if you'll see on camera, but I've got a little black chip there where I've scraped some paint off. So what I'm going to do here is actually put some light blue around the edge of it. I might as well make the most of the damage I've already done. It's cool. Now I know you probably can't see any of this on camera, can you? I bet. Because it's so subtle. Robert says, I'm redoing X-Wing minis with Tamiya and Citadel paints. Wow, you're trying to brush Tamiya paints? I hope not. It's a living nightmare. If you are. What I'm doing is I've got the paint quite thin. And I'm not brushing, I'm just literally touching the brush to the surface and letting the paint come out. Because it's quite thin, it's got a chunk of water in it. Some of it comes out bright, some of it comes out dark. Not all just one colour. I can cover up some bits here where I've gone over with the yellow and make them into chips. Colour them completely. Foxx, are you doing this late stream because of me complaining about the time? Not at all, Kenneth. I'm doing this because I got carried away binge watching Dirk Gently, and I realised it was 10 o'clock, and I'd actually decided to do this about 7 o'clock this evening. I thought, bugger, it's 10 o'clock, I'll do it anyway. Well, hello, Kenneth, by the way. But yeah, I know there's always people around this time of night. I was quite happy. And I figured I'm going to be doing this anyway. Might as well stream it and have some company while I'm doing it. Someone mentioned chips, says Smoo. I had Chinese for my dinner. I had duck ho fun sauce, which is delish. And then to top it off, I had house udon, which is all the different meats, big fat udon noodles. There was much fatness of noodles to be had. Now, I don't expect you'll find this exciting viewing. It really won't be. But just a chance for you guys to hang out in the chat, really. The grey tray makes a big difference to the colour balance. I know. I suddenly realised the other day when I was filming, because ever since I changed the LED lighting above me, it's kind of a white light and everything comes out really kind of dark. And I thought it was that, but then I realised, I thought, hang on a minute. A few people said some things and I suddenly realised the thing that was throwing out my colour balance and making everything dark was the green cutting mat. The camera, it affects how the camera sees colour. Overall, it looks at all the colours in its picture. So I thought, well, I'll get rid of the green cutting mat. I'll get this. I had this thing lying around this tray, and I thought I'll paint it grey and see what happens. And that white board behind helps as well. So happy times. It looks all professional and everything. See what the comments are doing. This makes me want to try 40k, says Robert. Do it. Do it. There's not many models I'd actually want to brush paint. 40k are kind of designed for it. And add to that, it's a simple build. Not particularly complicated. And another point that I can't remember. And they kind of look cool. They are all kind of cool. They look cool. Really hard not to want to do it. Over that bit there. Yeah, there is already some chipping on there from me roughhousing it, so make the most of that. You can see some of this. I'm trying to make sure my hand doesn't take up the whole shot, but it's really hard being right-handed and having the camera over there. There's bits that I need a microscope to see. Trust me, I've got my helmet of seeing on at the moment. Where's that? It's there. There it is. This is quite a light blue, so it's all subtle. I can afford to do some scrapes. If you want to do a scrape, get your fine brush. Again, hardly touch it to the surface. You just want the very tip touching and just drag the brush along. You'll have like one bristle. Drag it along, but lift it up every now and then to make little gaps in the scrape. And what you get is this idea of something skittering across the surface and leaving gaps. And then what I like to do, cross it over with a second line. So it looks really messy. Let's have a look. Lord Barkley III. You don't need to play, I don't, and these kits are great. Not too big to be displayed and great for practicing. Yeah, so I don't play. I've no real desire to play. I find it interesting, and I probably will do it at some point, but I'm not chomping at the bit to actually play a game. But yeah, I just think they're really nice kits. They're really beautifully designed. They're really fun to build. Quality-wise, I like to say that these kits are like Bandai kits if Bandai did glue kits. This is what they would do, kits of this quality, because the sculpting is beautiful. And they're so nice. They're not particularly complicated. They all just kind of look cool. I've even been painting the figures and having a blast with that. And I hate painting figures. Scrape there. Yes, this won't make for exciting viewing for you guys, but have fun in the chat. Charlie G, they're way too expensive for practice for me over here in the States. Don't know if they're more reasonable in our area. No, they're expensive everywhere. The only downside to Games Workshop kits is that it's only recently that Games Workshop has kind of realised they're a model manufacturer first and a builder of tabletop games second. And they admit that themselves. They realised for a long time we just make tabletop games. The models are second, but now they've kind of realised we actually make models. We're a model manufacturer. And the pricing is done so that the pricing relates to the unit you're building and how it relates to the game. If you have like a pack of 5 Space Marine grunts, they're just grunts, nobody cares about them. You can have 300 of them in your army if you want. So they price them cheap. But if you then get like a 5-pack of elite soldiers, you can only have like a handful of those in your army. That might be the only 5 you can have in your army because of the way the armies work and the point system. So what they do is they price it based on how many of these are you likely to buy. If you've only got one army, you can only have 5 elites, for example, and then everybody else will have to be grunt. So you're going to buy a lot of grunt kits, but only 1 pack of elites. So what you'll do is you'll get 2 kits. They'll both have 5 dudes in. They'll both be the same number of sprues, the same number of parts. They'll basically be just the same thing, but they just look different. But they'll be like a 30 quid difference. Because they know they're only going to sell you 1 pack of elites. But they'll sell you 10 packs of grunts. So you get the thing where this kit is more expensive than the Valkyrie dropship, flying ship thing, but the Valkyrie is a far more complex and bigger kit. If you look at it as a normal model make, you'd be like, that's like it's like paying 40 quid for a 50-year-old Airfix model, but then going out and buying a Tamiya 132nd plane for 30 quid. Makes no sense. They don't price it as a model manufacturer. They price it as a this pricing is still based on the game, which is fine. You get used to it. They are expensive, but that's why you can kind of treat them as a treat. At the end of the day, this not a cheap hobby. We choose to do this hobby, and sometimes you're gonna have to pay more. I've got to be conscious of this bit's going to be gold, so I can't do too much on there. Streak on the front there. And I know you can't see any of this probably, or very little of it. You're doing in chat. Right, the workers explained the reason they think that cost $178 was a very powerful. They put that in the water again. Very powerful unit. Yeah, so that's why you get like the grunt stuff. But like I say, the Valkyrie kit I've got is bigger than this, and more complex, and it's got like 4 dudes in it. But it's like 20 quid cheaper. And the Imperial Knight kit I bought today is bigger than this, but not as complex. Probably about the same number of parts, maybe not much more. But it's a lot more expensive. Well, actually, no, not that much more expensive, to be honest. Purely because it's an elite unit. You're only going to have one or at the very most two in your army. You're not going to buy like 10 of them. Unless you're like me, A, an idiot, and B, you can sell them anyway. But they're kind of realising that now, Games Workshop. They're realising that they're, first and foremost, they're a model manufacturer. That's their kind of primary role now. £50 for the Space Wolves Dreadnought last time I checked. I can't remember. Yes. And the Dreadnought's really small. It's just a dude in big power armor, so it's not that impressive. And yet that's about the same price as this entire ship. Which is where you have to wonder. You kind of see how the pricing structure is really weird. So to us model makers, it makes no sense at all. On one hand, you pay a lot for a kit, but on the other hand, you can get a really good kit for less that you think you'd have to pay for it. It works both ways. The model makers like us, it makes no sense at all. What, really? I can pick up most HG Gunpla for around $20, but Warhammer stuff is beautiful, says Charlie G. I've not enjoyed building glue kits as much as Warhammer. And it's funny how, like, you all know that I get bored really easily. So I get bored of kits so fast, even when I'm in the middle of building them. And, you know, I get bored of Gunpla after a while. I like to take a break from them. But I've never yet got bored doing a Warhammer kit. Because you can do most of it as brush painting. And I just find brush painting, since I've kind of learned a little bit how to do it, and I'm having a great time with it, I see brush painting now as a release from the everyday humdrum normal painting, airbrush nonsense. I see airbrushing now and proper painting as a chore sometimes. Whereas this is always just fun. I think it's also because I'm getting a bit better at it, so I'm kind of pleased with myself that I can actually do it. Just doing this light blue on the blue to start with. I'm just going from edges and things where it naturally makes sense that you'd have scrapes and scratches. I used to find old Games Workshop kits in a charity shop local to me. You do actually sometimes. If you're in the US, call them thrift stores, but a lot of people find models and things in charity shops and thrift stores. You know, people have house clearances or, you know, die or whatever, and the stuff all gets sold. There's some sadness involved to it, but at the same time, they just sell them dirt cheap. This is going to take me hours, isn't it? This is going to take me like approximately forever. And the thing is, once I do the weathering, all these chips are going to disappear. Part of the joy. I found a Griffin rider and a Hippogriff rider and paid like $250 for each of them. Wow. That's pretty good. There's one kit they do. I know Tabletop Minions did a video on Games Workshop pricing, and he had a classic example of he got this kit and it was like 3 dudes on horseback, and it was $100. And he got to the store and he was like, brilliant, brilliant. He got them out and he's like, oh wait, they're really small. They're just normal size kits. Why am I paying £100? And it's because they were super elite units. That's when he kind of realised how dumb pricing was. So it is expensive. It's not cheap. But like I say, this is our hobby. It's what we choose to do, and it's not always a cheap hobby, sadly. More chipping around here where the pilot gets out. All the hours in the world, says John Bias. The light blue on the blue scheme reminds me of denim. It does a bit, doesn't it? I'm basically painting a Daisy Duke colour scheme. Now you've all got images in your mind. And I wouldn't say bad images either, but there you go. It's going to be watery there, that. What I like is that when you do a paint chip like this and you've got kind of shading of the base colour, you do one colour paint chip, like this light blue. And when it goes between two different coloured areas, like light blue and slightly darker blue, it looks like different shades, but it's not. It's all the same colour chip. It's just because you're using it on different areas. And the thing with paint chipping is it always looks terrible when you put it on. I think you've done too much or too little. Can't really see that on there. I'll have to do a lighter blue for that one. You always think you've done too much or too little, but when you actually do all the weathering and stuff on top, it always comes together. What's chat doing? Let's have a look. I'd like to see Mr. Foxx do one of the Bandai Star Wars ships, maybe the AT-AT, says Robert Powell. I've got a TIE Fighter and a Y-Wing kit in my stash. Weebadoodles, I like that name, Weebadoodles. My brother also went through a phase where he wanted to get into Games Workshop and he got a lot of dudes on horseback. Like those, yeah, they're not cheap. My uncles used to paint minis and so in the 80s. King of Halloween says, always good to take a step back from Gunpla and do other kits that are fun. Work on what's fun for you. That's what I build. That's what I do. I do what I enjoy. And sometimes, you know, like I say with Gunpla, when people say, why have you stopped doing Gunpla? And I'm like, I'm only taking a break. But sometimes when you do the same thing day in, day out, you lose your passion for it. You get sick of it and you start to resent it and you want to just do something else. So doing stuff like this gives me more variety on my channel for you guys, but it helps me get the mojo back. If I start flagging on a Gunpla, I know it's time to take a break from it. Scratch there. Now it's time to try something else. I don't want to hate what I'm doing. You do anything enough. You ate the same meal every day, even if it was your most favourite meal in the world. After a while, you'd hate that food. Trust me, I've done that. Got to try and get on the back now, and you don't think you'll be able to see this. Very well. What we'll do is I'll go in later after this is all dry and I've finished all this colour, and I'll go in and do some little dark dots in the middle of the, or dark chips in the middle of these light chips. TK says Fox needs to do a proper wooden boat like a Viking Drakkar or something. No. To quote Martin Sheen in The West Wing, no. No. But build what interests you. Ships don't do anything for me. Unless they're like space ships. You know, battleships that go in space. I can think of one or two. How is everyone anyway? How's everybody's weather at the moment? We've got rain and cold. I know some of you are deep in snow at the moment. And I've got to be honest with you. You know, for all of you out there that have jobs of work to go to, you know, I did for 30 years. I had to go to work in an office and places like that. Snow is your worst enemy because you're like, great, now I can't get the car to start. I can't drive to work. I can't get the bus. There's no taxis. I'm going to be late. They're going to mark me up as late and get pay docked. It's a nightmare. You actually work from home like I do now. It's brilliant because when it snows, you look outside and you go, it snowed. Brilliant. And you go outside and you mess about in the snow and just you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to worry about being late or not being able to get to work, and you can actually enjoy the snow. It's like being a kid. Of course, there's the whole not earning much money and I'm never going to have a pension. So that's the kind of downside to it. Yeah. Oh, big dot. Never mind. You're a big dot. Scrape there. The funny thing is, if I try and paint a straight line, I can't paint a straight line for my life. But if I try and do a scrape, it comes out as a straight line. Right, let's see what your weather's doing. I built 270 airplanes in 11 years and said enough, said John Bias. Yeah. I mean, I'll probably stop doing Gunpla at some point, just out of boredom of them. I mean, I will be honest, there are times when I go through doing this, and, you know, I've been doing my video builds of Gunplas and stuff, and I do get bored, and I want to do something else. I was getting bored of that big unicorn. It was just not, I mean, I'm not that big a fan of the unicorn anyway. I was getting bored, so I wanted to step away. And I'm sure at some point in the future I'll get bored of Gunpla and just stop for a while. Try lots of other things. Not ships, TK. I was looking at your weather, wasn't I? Let's have a look. Charlie G says, I'm almost there on the Costco ramen. Yeah. Weebadoodles. I love that name. Weebadoodles. I love watching people build and paint stuff. Seeing tiny things turn out looking like real things is amazing. But you know what's better than watching people do that, Weebadoodles? Doing it. Do it. Try it. If you don't do it, I mean, you know, as far as I know, you might do. But if you don't do it, try it. It's even more satisfying when you do it yourself. And I don't want to hear any of this. Yeah, I can't really do that. I've not got the skills and knowledge. No, that's just an excuse. I've always said, and the whole motivation for me doing my channel is, and I was the same with art and music. Said I believe anybody can do what I do. Anybody in the world can do this, and to probably a higher standard than I can do it. There's nothing stopping anyone doing this. The only thing that stops you is knowing what products to use, when to use them, I'll move these out of the way, and how to use them. It's the only things that can stop you doing this. You don't know what to use or how to get a certain effect. And that's where people like me and TK and Ted and everybody else come in. That's what we do, we show you. And hopefully we show you it's not quite as complex or scary as you think it is. A lot of people make out like model making is really complicated and takes a lot of skill. I try and show that some of the techniques for model making are so simple you wouldn't believe it. Like this chipping. Chipping is not complicated. I'm just painting on tiny dots. I'm kind of using a little bit of logic as to where chipping would occur, so I kind of know what kind of look I want to achieve. Take any skill. You just need a fine brush and a steady hand. And then what you do is you take your steady hand and you make it not steady. Because that's the idea. You can see me shaking the brush a little bit. I tend to like overgrip the brush so it wobbles and wiggles. That's the trick. So that's why I do what I do. Anybody can do this. I believe anyone can do this. And I'm so happy that I've seen so many people start to watch my stuff. They send me a picture of something they built and it's like, yeah, it's alright, it's a bit rough around the edges. And then, you know, a year later, they send me a picture of something they built and it's like, wow, that's brilliant. You've really come a long way. Makes me proud. Because they've studied, you know, maybe my stuff or other people's stuff or all kinds of stuff. It's just learning and practice. You can do it. Right, anyway, I was looking at the weather. I keep getting sidetracked. No rain, cold though, says Chris. Sleet here, says John Bias. Rusty Beetle says snow. Charlie G says cold. We're out of the snow for now, but it's been snowing since November. My mum keeps saying, oh, maybe we'll get some snow. And I'm like, Mum, this is Cheshire. We don't get snow. We get a molecule of sleet, and that's about it. We haven't had snow since the 1970s. Not proper. Well, we had, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, we had a proper snow thing, and that was it. We don't get snow here. Hey, Marks. Chris Smith, 70-mile-an-hour winds and hail in Jersey. Wow. For some reason, I thought you meant New Jersey. Then I was about to go New Jersey, but it's not. It's Jersey, as in Bergerac. I'm up in Manchester, so it's bouncing between hail, rain and wind. Weebadoodles, that's brilliant, because I'm in Manchester as well. Well, I nearly did it again. I'm going to move this glass of water, because it's going to go wrong. Except I can't, because I need it there, because of the reasons. I'm in Manchester, well, just outside Manchester, so I'm getting the same rain and hail. The Triple says, yeah, white all around. TK says it's gone, it just went up the screen. Whoa, that's going fast. I inherited my mum's iPad Air, by the way, so I've got a decent iPad now. Rain now, storm tomorrow, says TK. Weebadoodles, and then suddenly it snowed, and now we simple British people are just shit. Yes. Well, you got some snow in Manchester. I didn't get any snow. I haven't had any snow. I did it again. I'm trying to read the comments and I'm putting paint on the brush. Bad in Orkney, says Mike Mountain. Yes, I'm sure Scott has kept us informed. I'm in the States and we have snow we are a southern state, so people are freaking out, says True Gumpler. I also work from home, so it's perfect. Yeah, you get a snow day. You can get a snow day, but it doesn't have any effect on you. All the people trying to drive away. I watched a video the other day and it was like, I don't know where it was, but some guy was going down at an interstate and there was like a really bad snowstorm. So he had a bit of a skid and a dinged somebody, so he pulled off to one side and just waited. And then like for about 10 minutes, trucks and cars were all just hammering down the road, skidding along, smashing into each other for about 10 minutes. There must have been about 50 to 100 cars in this. And they're just kind of coming along and clunking into each other, and the guy filmed the whole thing. Incredible. I thought you Americans knew what to do in snow with your snow chains and stuff anyway. Smooth said he couldn't get out of the cave today. It was snowed in. Oh no. Downside of having an exterior workplace, an exterior man cave, you can't get in. You can't get out to it, and then when you can get out to it, if it's open, if it's too cold, it's just too damn cold to work. I think Ted has days when he just can't do any work because it's just too damn cold in the Ted shed. But he's happy to make model making chickens sleep outside in the cold and rain, and cruel man. Look. I used to have to go to work. I was a taxi driver. Yeah. Remember I had to go to work once, the last proper snow we had. I like a fool, I went to the bus stop even though it's not going to turn up. So I went to the bus stop and it was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. Then I actually walked all the way home again, then phoned a taxi, and actually the taxi turned up, bless him. It took me like 45 minutes to get a mile down the road. So I just phoned work and said, look, I'm in a taxi now, we're not going to get there. It's going to be like another 3 hours. And my boss went, just turn around and go home, mate, there's no point. I was like, okay, brilliant, snow day, woohoo, came home, had a great time, snow day. When the snow cleared and we went back to work, they went, right, you're all being docked today's pay as being treated as absent. I'm like, hey, my boss told me, my team leader told me not to come in. They're like, don't care, you're still getting docked. Yeah, I didn't stay there long. Fascists. The Triple says everything's bright and calm. Wet and windy on the Wirral? Hey. Oh, there's Mark scale models. That's normal for the Wirral. Am I doing the wrong accent there completely, aren't I? I apologise. True Gumpler says, oh snap, hey John Bias, it's Joel from IPMS. Hey Joel. This is the thing, right? I always worry that people get offended because I don't recognise them straight away. But the thing you have to remember is, I know all you guys from like 12 to 10 different places. And you don't always have the same names in different places. Like, you might have one name on the Boom Hut Facebook, and then of course you'll have a different YouTube handle, then you'll have a different name on the Discord, and it's like, oh, it gets very confusing. And I'm a bearer of very little bread. I don't have a great memory, and I really am crap with names anyway, let's just be honest. If I ever forget who somebody is, or think looks like I don't know who you are, I do apologise. It's just that so many of you, you'll have so many different names. It confuzzles me. Sleeting now, says John. Now snow. Yes, you will build one someday, waves the hand. Jedi mind trick, says TK. I will. I'll probably do the wiring first. It's like I've said before, I have to wake up in the morning and think, you know what, today I really want to build X, Y, or Z. And that's how I then know it's a good time to build that kit. And when that happens, I've learned not to ignore that. I've learned to ignore that at my peril. Because if I wake up and think, you know, I really want to build such and such a kit today, and I don't, then I just get grumpy. Whatever I am working on, I get grumpy at it and I resent it because I'm not working on the thing I wanted to work on. And then when I do work on that thing, it's usually then because I think I should have done it before, and then I'm doing it out of obligation, and it just is, I don't put as much effort into it. So I've learned the hard way. If you wake up in the morning and you have a need to build a certain kit, just build the damn thing. Drop whatever else you're doing and work on it. Just your Uncle Fox on that one. Which is why I'm a bit scatterbrained. That's why I'll start a video series on something and then stop halfway through and go and do something else, like the big mega size unicorn, and then come back to it later. I mean, I was waiting for the oil paint to dry on the big unicorn anyway, but I'm hoping to have this done by now, but never mind. Just more time for the oil paints to dry. Big dogs, that was a bad move. Oh, that was a bad move. Oh, it's gold anyway. Don't want to bother doing that bit for. So I don't know if any of this... Oh, you can see some of it on camera, I think. It looks pretty crappy on camera when you can see it now, because all you can see is the really big splotches and the really light ones. But trust me, there's those little tiny microscopic ones that you can't see. So I'll take a picture and put it on the Facebook later or something, but... Yeah. I like doing this. It's good fun. I enjoy weathering because it's kind of mindless. You don't have to think about it too much. As long as you have a basic understanding of how weathering works, you're good to go. I'm not doing the wings yet, because if I start painting them, it'll be awkward camera angle time. Oh, I'll do that panel, haven't I? Do that later. I'm trying to do the bits that I can do on camera for you guys without having to hold things up at weird angles. It gets awkward. Right, let's have a look. The solution for boredom is to have two projects. When you get bored of one, you can jump to the other. It says Frozen Zulu. Problem with that is you end up with a really, really cluttered work desk. The problem is when you've got one of those projects is a mega-sized Gundam or a master grade, and you've got 300 parts on sticks on big chunks of foam that take up your entire workbench. You don't then kind of have space for... I used to do more than one at once. Just don't really have the space anymore to do that. I mean, this is one kit and it's taken over my entire workbench. So, not practical, unfortunately. Then the freezing rain, says John Bias. Rayleigh is shut down. Haha, people need break and milk, says True Gumpler. And eggs and toilet paper, says John Bias. Angus Allett says, sunny and warm here in Oz. Cicadas singing and birds chirping. Oh, just, you have to be so cheerful about it. While we're all in the depths of winter, you're in the height of summer. Just, it's fine to tell us, just try not to sound so cheerful about it. It's just jealousy. It's just jealousy. You'll get old enough one day and instead of Gumpler, you'll be building trains, Fox, says Charlie G. That is never going to happen. There are certain genres of models that I just have no interest in whatsoever, and I never will. Trains being one of them. Cars is another. I have no interest in cars. Helicopters? No. Boats? Maybe one day. They don't float my boat, if you pardon the pun. I know it's a really bad pun there. But I might build a boat one day. A proper, actual goes on the sea boat, not like a space boat. What else is there? Historical figures, like You know, Napoleonic soldiers and stuff. No interest. I've no real interest in actual figure modelling. I like my Warhammer dudes. I don't mind doing figures as part of a model, but actually just where you get like a 1/6 scale, whatever, Queen's Hussar or World War II soldier or something like that, and it's like, maybe not. What else don't I like? I don't really. Cars, no interest. Bikes, no interest. You really have to stick to. It's all very well going out of your comfort zone, but I always believe, if you don't have an interest in the subject to start with, you're kind of on a losing streak. You're not going to do your best work because you've not really invested in the actual subject matter. Well, you might be brilliant. I wouldn't say don't do it, but I wouldn't myself. I need to have a passion about it. I need to try to go to sleep at night imagining what it's going to look like when it's finished and have that keeping me awake. And then, get up in the morning and be excited for what I can do and how it's coming along. But if a kit's not in my wheelhouse, it's not in an area of interest, I'm just not going to have that at all. Weebadoodle says I'm an artist, so I know these feels. Yeah, I do arty stuff as well, the modelly stuff. Wow. I can't remember the last time I actually drew something on paper. Must be pre 2000, because after that I started drawing on computer. Intense up there. I don't want to go too much further. I just don't have the space to paint the stuff how I want to, says Weebadoodles. That's one advantage of brush painting. You don't need a lot of space. You just need enough space for the model and a brush. And that's one of the reasons I like doing these with these Citadel paints, because these are so utterly brushable. And it's such fun doing it. And it's just water. You don't need a spray booth or other complex equipment. It's great. I can just have this, and that's it. This stuff over here is just, that you can't see just off camera here. It's just like my cans of primer that I've got nowhere else to put. But if I was clean on my desk, I'd have just this bit and some pots of paint off to the side on my spinny thing that you can't see, and that's it. If this was a gun plant and I was doing spraying and everything else, there'd be big pieces of foam with things on sticks. There'd be my airbrush over there. I couldn't put stuff in the spray booth to store it because I'd be using the spray booth. There'd be trays everywhere. There's like the mega size unicorn. It's all in little storage boxes over in this corner of my room. And it's all kind of delicately balancing on shelves. It makes me nervous. But I've got nowhere else to put it while the oil paints are drying. So it's just more of a pain than anything else. The way you just get to watch my hand, because well done, Foxx. I'll probably do a few colours of chip. I mean, I will do anyway because I've got to do yellow chips and things like that. But I could probably do a couple of shades of blue. I won't just do one blue chip colour. I'll do a couple of different shades of yellows and things like that. Just to make things interesting. I'm going to do rust though. I like to think, although the Imperium of Man recycles a lot of their stuff and doesn't make new technology, I like to think that they don't kind of go rusty. They use decent metals and things, at the very least. Not all just iron and. I mean, hell, they have gold on everything, so they've got some standards. Probably a few space metals in there that maybe won't rust. Let's put a streak going across there. Just done one on top of another one, never mind. One there. And we'll do one here. Right across like that. This is underneath, so I'll make some nice scratches and things on here. Yeah. So simple a fox can do it, says John Bias. That's pretty much my catchphrase. TK, thanks very much for coming in, dude. Good night. Dinosaur look cool. I'd love to do one sometimes too, says Chris. Yeah, actually, I wouldn't mind doing a dinosaur. Yeah, there's a certain set of skills with doing things like that. It's like doing dragons and beasts for this kind of Warhammer stuff. There's a few, like, I have no interest in the actual Warhammer stuff. The Warhammer 40K I quite enjoy. The fantasy Warhammer stuff doesn't really float my boat at all. I'm not into fantasy. But there are some of the kits, some of the beasts, dragons and things, or dragon-like creatures that are like, wow, I'd really quite like to paint that. I think there's one called a Star Drake. Quite like the look of that. At least I only just started building Arbor like Mike, and I'm loving it and learning a bit about the vehicles in the real world. Armor's good fun. Armor's good fun because you can make it really messy and weathered. I think the thing with armor, especially for the British amongst you as well, is that a lot of kids start their model making careers. Those who go on to make models in their older years start their model making careers with tanks. It's just a kind of British thing, I think. Don't know. It seems to be. Bit too dotty on this bit, so I'm going to make some big chips just to kind of balance it all out, I think. Difficult to know exactly how far to go with these. You never know how it's going to look until you've finished it and weathered over it, and then you get the proper idea. You always think you've put too much on, and then you do all the weathering and it all just disappears, and you're like, oh, actually, it wasn't that much. I'll never know if I've gone too far. Far enough. And of course, I'm spending all this time doing the underneath that nobody's ever going to see. Yeah. Let's have a look. I've just started with the sub with full interior fill. Love doing it. Gonna do Ted's one soon. Yeah, you're gonna get that big 148 scale one, aren't you? Right. I'm gonna take a break for a second and see what the chat's doing and have a cigarette. Because I'm hunched over the desk, I can only work in little stints. I've not got the best back in the world. But you can see the kind of effect I'm going for. Let's see if I can get close up and let you see what I've actually done. So that was a bit better. I'll see if I can get close up and focus on it. Hang on. And get the focus device. Focus. 1 second. Eine Minuten bitte. Where is it? There we go. It looks a bit scratchy right now because it's one colour. But once you do weathering over the top, and once you get some other layers of chipping on there with it as well, it'll start to kind of blend together. The thing with chipping is you always have to realise it's going to look like ass until you finish the model. Always the way chipping works, it always looks terrible till you finish it. Right, let's see what chat's doing. Lord Barkley III, have you not thought about turning people into cartoons for cash? I don't know if that's aimed at me. If it's aimed at me, I can't draw people. I can do animal people, but I can't do people. And even then, it's not a process I can really monetize because it's not that kind of creative process for me. Again, with the drawing, it's like the model making. If I've not got an initial investment, emotional investment in what I'm drawing, I just get bored dead quick. Does e-model ship to the States? I think they do. I think they ship anywhere. They're quite happy to ship it to wherever you want. What else we got? The triple. I can't keep myself off buying kits I would love to build and they pile up, but if it comes to get on them, I just see all the work and time that needs to be spent, and it keeps me from getting started. That's why it's important to get something that you have a passion for, something that really floats your boat. When people say, what Gundam shall I build for my first Gundam? It's like, well, just pick one that you think looks cool. Because then there's the motivation to make the cool thing. Whatever the model may be, it doesn't have to be a Gundam, but whatever it is, just get something that you think, man, that looks really, really cool, and just do that. Because then you've got the extra thing. To the question about e-models shipping to the US. Yes, they do ship to the US, but as Mike Mountain says, there's certain things they can't ship. Mike says not paints. I think they might ship liquid paints, but they can't ship aerosols and things like that. The way it works in the UK is people can ship aerosols via Royal Mail within the UK. So shop retailers can do that. That's not a problem. But they can't ship them overseas because it would either be prohibitively expensive because they can't send them by air, or they just can't send them for various legal regulations, and most retailers just don't bother because it's not worth the hassle. You can't take rattle cans up on a plane in cargo storage because they're pressurised and they'd explode, so there's the risk of that. So there are certain things like certain glues and aerosols and stuff they can't ship, but the best way to do it is order your stuff anyway. If there's something they can't send you, either it won't let you order it, or they'll drop your mail and say, hey, we can't ship this to you. Mike Mountain says, yes, I am Fox. Yes, you are what? Doing the big 148th U-boat? Yes. Hang on, there's a question here. Will you release a paint chart with all the original names and your translations that you use in the videos? I will do, actually. I've got so many of them now. I've got tons of them. So I may well do. It'll take me a while. At the moment, it's just a case of when I use a new paint, I have to go and do a new little image to come up with a name and stuff. But yeah, I probably will do, because it's kind of funny. Hey, William Rayborn, good afternoon, he says. Vincent says, I'm trying my best not to curse, but I just discovered one of the AA turrets on the Yamato unpainted. Hate when that happens in the final stretch of a build. Oh, there's nothing worse. It is most frustrating. Chris Smith, busy brush painting a toon tank. Yay! Which one? Please don't say Sherman. I'll be sad if you say Sherman. The Triple says, off I go. Thanks for the show. Thanks for coming by, The Triple. More than welcome. John Bias, have a good evening all. Have to go and apply some gloss coats. Yes, you too, John. Thank you for stopping by. I probably won't be much more longer because I'm getting to the bits where I need to start getting close up now and doing this a lot. It's only going to be a short stream. I think Durable Moomin is my favourite, says Weebadoodles. What, not Labia Mermaids? I think I've told this story before, but I've not seen you on my streams before, Weebadoodles. But Chris, the manager at my local Warhammer store, I was telling him about my silly paint names. He says, oh, I know all about those. I said, oh, have you? He said, yeah. I said, oh, do you watch my stuff? He said, no, I haven't watched your stuff, but he knows what I do. He says, I haven't watched your stuff, but a guy came into the store and asked me for a jar of Labia Mermaids, and I'm like, I beg your pardon? He said, yeah, can I have a bottle of Labia Mermaids? And he said, I gave him this look, and he went, oh, so wait, no, it's Lamian Medium, that's the one I want. And then he explained where he got it from, and he was like, he showed him, and he's like, oh, I get it. And he said, oh, I know that guy. Yeah, I know that guy. I'll ask him about that next time. So he thought they were quite amusing. I have to be careful with the silly names there. There are some I come up with that are either, not that they're rude, but I've come up with some great names for colours, and I think, no, I can't do that because that's like overtly political, or it's just going to ignite all kinds of discussion. Yeah, bad thing. Panzer 3, I won from. Oh, of course, yes, you won the Panzer 3, didn't you? It was you, yes. I hope you're enjoying that. It's a nice little kit. I thought Ted got the better end of that deal because I got the KV2, which looks really cute and sweet, but it's really quite simple. There's not a lot of stuff on it. But he got the Panzer with the exhaust on the back that he can rust up and all the other bits and bobs and the tools. And I'm like, oh, I wanted tools and things on mine. Aww. But it's a sweet kit. Weebadoodle says, I keep missing your streams, but I watch your videos. The problem is that I never really plan these. I just kind of just do them. So I'm a bit rubbish. I'm actually giving advance notice of these damn things. Where are we up to? Bit of water. World famous Foxx. Not quite. Oh, far too much water in that. Oh, bugger. Not so famous that I get given free stuff all the time. Let's just say that. Yeah. If I had like 1 million followers on YouTube, I'm sure I'd walk into shops and they'd be like, please take some stuff, please take things, and then say our name a lot in the video. Okay. That would be kick-ass. I've got some little black chips here that I've done with my rough handling of the model. They're actual chips. So I'm just going over those with the light blue colour. Just to accentuate them. Got a bit heavy there. I might have to tone that down a bit later. A bit OTT. Needs more scratches. Scratches, senor. Needs more scratches. Scratches from the end, I think. Oh, heck, I've got the burps tonight. And every time I burp, all I can taste is how special udon. It's delightful. Scratch on that. Yeah. Big scratch. Never gonna buff out. Orange would be a dangerous colour then, wouldn't it, Foxx? I was kind of alluding to that, yes. Let's just say that was one of the colours I thought, that'd be a great name. No, maybe not. I had a great name lined up for Jucario Orange. But A, I don't think I've actually used it on camera yet, and B, I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'd love to, but too many people that wouldn't get the joke or be offended by it. I'm like, yeah. Oh, well, never mind. It would have been a brilliant idea. Maybe in 3 more years. Or 7 more years. Please, God, not 7 more years. I'm liking the fact you were on that wavelength there, Vincent. Good man. You knew exactly where I was going with that one. Ryan Riley, I finished painting my first 2 kits and I'm nervous about weather and ruining all the work. Been putting it off. The important thing to remember, Ryan Riley, is every model maker gets that feeling. I get that feeling every time I do anything to a kit. But you have to remind yourself that if you screw up, it doesn't actually matter. I mean, if I screw up, yeah, it's a bit of a pain because it means I can't sell whatever I've screwed up. But if I screw up, like just a model and no more than I'm doing for myself, I get frustrated and it's annoying. But at the same time, you've always got the option of A, stripping all the paint off and starting again, which is a bit of a save. Or just accept that you screwed it up and move on to the next kit. Because, you know, 5 years from now, there'll be a lot more kits under your belt. It is easy when you're doing a build to get stuck into the mindset of, this is what I'm working on now, it's the most important thing in the world. But you have to remember as well, you'll look back at this build, and you know, every build I do, I know, a couple of years from now, I'll look back at it and think, well, that's a bit crap. Could have done better, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. So don't get, although you want to invest all your time and emotions into it, don't fall in love with the build. Because it does stifle your creativity, you don't take risks. And that's how you learn cool things. That's how I figured out the gunk wash. I didn't learn it. I know it's not, I didn't invent the technique, but I didn't learn it from watching other people. I just kind of did it. I was like, you know what happens if I do this? Bleh, there you go. Oh, it's cool. It worked. So you have to like be passionate of what you're doing, but not in love with that particular build, because you will look back on it a year or two later and think it's bad and not like it. I've told the story before about the big U-boat I built as a commission. I'm really proud of. That was a really good build. But before I did that one, about 2 years before, I built the same kit for myself. And when I finished the commission U-boat, I looked back at the one I built for myself and realised the one I built for myself was absolute gash. Terrible. And I was so disgusted with it, because I hadn't really looked at it in a couple of years. I was so disgusted with it, I just snapped it in half and put it in the bin. Because I'd come so far in that 2 or 3 years that what I thought was an awesome U-boat that I built was actually rubbish. So don't worry. If you've got an idea and you want to try something, every build is a learning experience. You're always learning things and trying things out. So as long as it's not like a kit that costs you 600 quid, or it's like, not a perfect grey Millennium Falcon or something that's like 300 quid with the investment. If it's just a normal kit like one of these or an Airfix or something, Revell or any, Bandai Gunpla or something, just have fun with it. Accept that you might screw it up. And if you screw it up, yeah, that'll kind of suck. But accept that sometimes you have to trash a kit because it's just gone horribly wrong. Oops, loads of water on that. Sometimes you'll have to trash kits because they've just gone to ass, basically. But you'll always learn something as a result. You'll know what not to do next time. Or you'll know what skill you have to think about and learn to develop. You might think, well, that was really bad and it came out terrible, but at least I know I'm not very good at a particular thing, and I can spend some time getting good at it. That's the beauty of it. Don't treat it as failure. See it as just finding out where you need to concentrate your learning experience. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has all the answers. Not even me, and I know everything. I know everything. I'm Dr. Smarty Pants, and I know everything. Lies. What's chat doing? I'm talking for their ages and letting you guys, not even paying attention to you guys. Let's have a look. Oh my god, Labia Mermaids. Yeah, that's for Lamian Medium. It's Lamian Medium, but I called it Labia Mermaids. I don't know where it just popped into my head and I'm like, yep, that's the perfect name. So when Chris, the manager there, is like, beg your pardon? You want a bottle of what? Let's have a look. Philly says to Ryan, Riley says, I have a practice on some scrap plastic. The best thing you can do, because I always say go and use some scrap plastic, but it's not always possible you have any lying around, or it might be small. I don't know where you are. If you're in the UK, get yourself down to like Hobbycraft or somewhere, or some cheap little store where they've got the little sort of £6 Airfix kits. They're like, it's a Spitfire or a Lancaster or a Messerschmitt or something. They're like £6 or £7. They're terrible kits. They're crap. They're like 50-year-old toolings. The quality is rubbish. The canopies are all frosted and horrible. They're not worth anything. But if you just stick it all together, you've then got what modelers call, you might call it a test mule or a test pig. It's basically an object that you can then prime, try different paint techniques out on, and when you've finished and it's gold, looks like terrible crap, you can just prime over it again and start again. You can use it as your test bed for techniques. If you think, I need to figure out if I can do this particular technique, let's do it on my test pig. Try it. No, that didn't work. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Try it there. No, I've still not got it. Ah, bingo. Now I understand how I need to do it. So get yourself a test pig. Weathering is fun. Weathering, you can't really go wrong with weathering unless you do far too much, and it is easy to do far too much. So, moderation in all things. But yeah, get yourself a test pig. Go and get a little crap £6 Airfix World War II fighter aces Spitfires. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a little Revell car or anything. Just the cheapest kit you can find in your local hobby store. And just prime it and build it and use that as your test pig. An invaluable way to learn new things. Philly says the orange could be divisive to say the least. Yes, Great minds, Fox, says Vincent. Indeed. Phil East asks some companies for freebies, Fox. Luke from Luke's Apps gets a lot and has a similar subscriber number to you. Yeah. I've watched it. I've watched some of his stuff. He does it a lot for review, though, and things like that. I don't really do that. I have had conversations with my local Warhammer store about some various things. But obviously Warhammer store's a franchise. There's only so much they can do. They don't have their own YouTube channel. I've had conversations with them. I did do the thing for Mig Jimenez for Ammo, the Zaku, that I've still not finished yet. And that was cool because that was when Mig was just getting into Gunpla. And he actually approached me and said, hey, do you want to do a little collaboration? Yeah, that'd be cool. And then I never finished it, which was kind of awkward. But I'm not... Maybe it's a British thing, I don't know. It's just, we're too polite. I can't speak for all Britons, but I can speak for all the Britons I know, which is all my friends and family and stuff. We're all the kind of people that we don't like to ask for stuff. If I walk into a shop and it says, ask our assistant for a free cup of coffee, I still wouldn't ask for the free cup of coffee. It's just, I don't know, it's just something you do. I know the Americans out there amongst you will they'd be like, yeah, I'd ask for that. I'd be like, all up in that. I'd be like, can I have my free coffee? I think it's different cultures. See them differently. Just, it's not the way I was brought up. I'm always reluctant to ask for stuff. It's like, I do my videos for e-models, and they supply the kit that I build. And yet, I still feel uncomfortable saying to Pete, mate, right, can I build this kit next? Even though it's like, they sponsor me and that's what I'm meant to do. I still can't do it. I still feel bad. Hey, Pete, could I possibly build, this particular kit, maybe? I'd feel like, I don't know, it's just like weird. I think it's the British thing. We're just all too polite. Apart from the ones of us that aren't. We don't talk about them. Great minds, also idiots, says Chris. Yes. Vincent says, a build like that for me will be the mobile German artillery I did. First bit of armour, served in Afghanistan, and I just went down with the dust and light mud weathering the Afghan desert would bring. Thought I wrecked it, and then people gave it really positive feedback. Everybody, if anybody who does any kind of art, not just model making, but drawing, painting, music, anything creative, if you show me two people and they've both done a beautiful piece of whatever it is they do, let's say a drawing, one of them says, well, I did my best, but there's still things I don't quite know, and they're kind of humble about it, so I don't think it's that good. I'd appreciate that artwork. If the other guy was like, oh, this is I've spent 20 years learning this and I know everything and this is perfect and you want to improve on it, I'd be like, yeah, you can go away now. No interest in your artwork. An artist who does not have a critical view of their own work is not an artist. No artist of any kind is ever happy with their own work. They'll always see something they can change or improve, or something that annoys them. Partly why I don't get overly attached to my builds. I've got some of them in cabinets, and it's like, I'm happy with them and proud of them when I finish them. But then once they're done, I don't even really look at them when they're in the cabinets. They just gather dust. Which is why I don't mind selling them every now and then. Might as well make some income off them. John Bennett. Enjoy the Eagle build doing the freighter now, following your build. One thing I could do with is the decals out of the special edition and the placement guide. Do you know if they'll sell them separate? I don't know. I don't think they do. They might do, but I'm not. I don't think they do. If not, there probably are third-party kits out there that have the same decals. Or very similar, but they won't be anywhere near as good. That's the downside of the non-special edition kit. I mean, a lot of the decals you could do with masking, a lot of the little coloured squares. It would be a chore and it'd take you forever to do it. But there probably are third-party decals out there, rip-off decals, the same thing. I would suspect. I'm not sure. They might do them. They might do them separately. I don't actually know. I think they do. Painting little tiny things makes your eyes go ow. Oops. I was going to show you something. If I can find a bit to show you all. Let me find a bit. Let me find a bit. Is there a bit I can show you on? No. Podge. Little trick I learnt from Mig Jimenez. Okay. I don't know if this will come out on camera. I know I'm quite a way away. One way of doing little chips that always look quite cool is where you get an edge like that. I don't know if you'll see here. You've got like it's like that circle shape. You've got a three-sided edge. One thing I've learnt from Mig is every now and then, if you get that kind of corner, paint around the edges with little dots, and then fill some of it in the corner, and then put little dots. I can't find a bigger example, unfortunately. Let's try another one, see if we can see it better. Like here, this corner. Do some dots on the edges. Fill that in a little bit with a blob of paint. Going up the sides. And then fade it out with some dots. And it just gives you that nice kind of patchy paint effect. Wherever you get like that I did there. This little sort of corner there. I did it a little bit there. I put little blobs. Put the top. I just saw Big doing that. And for some reason, it just worked in my brain. It made me think, yeah, that's where the paint's chipped away. But it's chipped away at the sides a little bit. And it looked more like flakes of paint that had been left. It's kind of hard to explain, but it just really worked for me. I first tried it on the big mega-sized RX-78-2. Well, like here where you've got the same thing. It's a rectangle, but there's not a crisp edge here. There's like a soft edge. So you can paint that edge, paint a line down that edge, and paint up at the top here. And it just gives some definition to that corner. Because this line here is really faint. You don't need to paint all the way down it. It just kind of edges it a little bit. It looks quite spanky. I don't know why I'm painting this bit. That's where the canopy goes. Looking pretty good. Well, that's about a third of it done. That's about a third of that particular colour. And I've got maybe 2 or 3 other colours to chip with. I'll have a quick look at what you're doing in chat, and then we might call it quits on this one, because it's only a quickie. You just swig me brew. Nom. What are we doing in the chats? Do. That's amazing, says Weebadoodles about the Labia mermaids. Look. John Bennett, I call mine Buster, it's an old 747. That's your test pig, I guess. The Gundam Ball looks like a great test pig. However, the Gundam Ball is one of those kits that regularly goes out of print. And it's hard to get hold of, so if you have a ball, treasure it. Don't use it as a test pig. The master grade one. Alright, Chris, thanks for coming in, Chris. I think I've already missed him. Too busy waffling. Where are we? Billyst, I can relate to that, Fox. I'm a bit weird about asking for stuff. My auntie does it every shop she goes in and she gets loads of deals. Yeah, it's just a kind of like, I'm not comfortable asking for something. Even if it's openly offered, I'm like, And he says, here are 5 products. You can have one of them free. Which one do you want? I'll never pick the most expensive one. I'll be like, I don't want to be cheeky. I'll go for the cheap one. Like, let's say the guy in the Warhammer store said, here are 5 of the kits. You've got This one, 20 quid, 30 quid, 50 quid, 70 quid, and 100 quid. Which one do you want? You can have any one of those 5, and it's absolutely free. No commitments. I'd be like, well, I'll take the 30 quid one. Maybe. I'll be cheeky. Whereas somebody else might be like, I want the big expensive one. Thanks very much. I just can't do it. Lord Barclay says, I'm off. Bottles to make. Good night. Thanks for coming in. Iron Brew, says Smoo. Iron Brew made in Scotland from girders. Iron Brew. I've actually not had Iron Brew for a long time. Michael McGarry says, what sort of brushes do you recommend for beginners? Any brushes. Any brushes are fine, but obviously the cheaper you go, the worse they are. If you get ones in the pack and they look like that to start with, then you're probably on a bad. If you go to your local pound shop and they come out crispy out of the packet, you're like, yeah, that's a bad start. I actually quite like the Citadel brushes, but they're not the cheapest. They are really nice. But really, it depends what you're doing. I mean, all you really need to start with is just, I would say, a fine brush of some sort. Very fine, delicate, pointy brush for details. A bigger brush, bigger round tip brush for your painting of bigger areas. And for, if it's pointy enough, you can do small details with it. And some sort of flat chisely brush. This one needs cleaning. Flat chisely brush like that, because they are great for painting big areas with solid colours without brush marks, and also for dry brushing. You don't need, if you're just starting out, you don't need to spend a fortune, but I would say as you get better, you probably want to get more and more invest in your brushes. I do like the Citadel brushes. They're not the cheapest. They don't last as long as, say, some other ones. But I've got the Winsor & Newton Series 7. I've got the Double O and the Triple O. And they are really nice. They just last me. I love those. And if you want to make your brushes last a long time, then get yourself some Masters Brush Cleaning Preserver. Use this religiously at the end of every day. Clean your brushes. And they'll maintain their point and they'll last longer. They don't get paint up in the ferrule. I would say your best bet, don't get them from the local cheap shop because they'll be crap. Go to your local art store, but don't spend a fortune. Get some of their cheaper brushes. I mean, they'll be able to tell you what kind of good beginner brushes are. But go to a proper art shop where they do like Sable and Kolinsky brushes and things, but they also do cheaper nylon brushes. The cheapest brushes in your art shop will probably be 1,000,000 times better than something you get from the pound shop. Hello, Fox. Sorry I'm late. I was watching the new Star Wars, says Reese. Hi, Reese. It's alright, I was late. I was watching Dirk Gently. So, just finished watching season 2 of Dirk Gently. And I got to tell you, I know it's nothing like the books. And I love the books. It's nothing like the books. But you know what? I actually quite like it. It's quite good. Good fine detail brushes on a budget are Tamiya face paint and fine brushes. Yep, that would be. Sea white brushes are fairly affordable, says Weebadoodles. Yep, I've never actually heard of those. Vincent says, I've got expensive small brushes, yet I've started using those cheap Tammy ones more and more. Yeah. The true sign of a brush is one that lasts you for a while. The trick to making a brush last longer is not be me. Is the reason brushes get splayed out and horrible is because paint gets down here into the ferrule and dries out and pushes all the bristles apart, and that's why brushes go like that. But the trick is, even with cheap brushes, if you clean them properly, and I don't just mean get them in some water or get them in thinners or anything like that, get yourself something like that. This is really, really good. It's about £5. This is really good. It's a proper brush cleaner. It will take paint off old brushes and restore them. It's like, you wouldn't just wash your hair in water or alcohol. You'd wash your hair with shampoo and conditioner. That's basically what that does. So even crappy brushes can last you a long time. Plasma on YouTube has some great examples of the range those Tamiya brushes will give you. Yep, thank you very much, Vincent. Robert Powell says, night all, love chatting with you. Yep, good night, matey. Thanks for coming in. We're going to be stopping soon. Anyway, have you seen the new Star Wars, mate? It's a stonker. No. Shh. Still not seen it yet. I've not a chance. John Bennett says, I get all my paint brushes from Hobby Craft. They have a great selection from a fiver for a set of different... That's where I get a lot of mine from. I've got my Citadel ones. And that's purely because I go in the Warhammer shop regularly. I can just pick a brush up. And I've got my Winsor & Newton ones. I've got a load of brushes that some American company sent me because I once looked at getting some brushes done with the model making Guru logo on them. I just made an inquiry and they sent me like a pack of 50 different brushes, and some of them are awesome. I can't remember who they're by now. Some American company. So I'm like, okay, brilliant, thanks very much. But other than that, they're all hobbycraft brushes. I mean, even my big brushes like these, which are huge, these big, huge things, they're just Daily Rowney brushes, System 3 brushes from Hobbycraft. So a lot of my brushes actually come from Hobbycraft. Never underestimate your local Hobbycraft store for awesome things. What have I got from Hobbycraft? These little dropper bottles for my paints, they came from Hobbycraft. They're about £1 for 10 or something. I've got a load of little shot glasses, if I can find it, that I use for mixing paints. They're from Hobbycraft. They're like £1 for 1,000 of them. Got tons of stuff from Hobbycraft, me. I love the place. Null oil, says Yetta Ben. I've said it, there you go. Null oil gloss. I can't do it without the slowing down. I'm now going to apply my coat of null oil. You make me cough now. Excuse me. Vincent says, Army painter brushes make complete sets for a very sharp price. Yes, Army paint, I've got some of those. They're very good brushes as well. And they have triangular, whatever you call this bit, that's really good. Rip. Hey, Fox, I got a question. Is Alchemy? Go for it, Alchemy. Just ask you a question, dude. Chris Smith says, night all, gotta go. Thanks for coming in, dude. Weebadoodle said, I wish we had a Hobbycraft closer. Yeah, mine's not too far away. It's right next door to the Argos, which is a really bad thing. That was a fortune worth of it, says Yetta Ben. Oil. I can do it in a kind of hooded claw. Oil. Kind of next time, Gadget. Next time. I can't do it very well. I could do that voice better when I was young. Philly's just got myself some nice brushes and soap. I got some Army Painter ones, and then my mate got me some Series 7s for Crimbo. Yeah, I'm really liking my Series 7s. I kind of poop kittens every time I use it, and I really panic if I don't wash it overnight, and I keep forgetting to clean them out. But yeah, although bizarrely, like I was saying in that video the other day, this is my Series 7 Triple O, which I was going to use for all the tiniest details in the world. However, this Citadel base brush, which is huge compared, because it's got the little hook on the end, where the bristle's hooked over, this is actually better for fine detail painting and doing edge highlights than this, because it holds a load of paint. It's got a bigger paint reservoir in the big brush. If you thin your paint down and hardly touch it to the surface, you can get some really nice like edge highlights and little details. These little tick marks here, I painted with this big brush like that, and the paint just flows off it. Alchemy, you had a question. You were going, oh, there we go. Sorry, this any model related? I was wondering if you're a furry because of your thumbnails. No, but I did an anthropomorphic comic strip for about 5 years. Because of my details. Oh, my thumbnails. Yes, I did a webcomic for about 5 years called Avoid Spikes. I can't give you the address because it's like dogsounds.com/avoid spikes or something like that. But just do a Google search for Avoid Spikes. You'll see it. I did that for about 5 years, about 10 years ago now. So I'm not personally a furry, but my art is furry, I suppose. It's anthropomorphic art. So that's the kind. I can't do people, but I can do animals. I don't know why. I just kind of grew up drawing animal characters. So there you go. Woolby Doodles. We usually go to the Altrincham one. That is my local. That is, and this is Warhammer. Then that is my local Hobbycraft. All my Hobbycraft stuff comes from that Altrincham one, and they know me because I walk into that Altrincham store. And the girl looks at me and goes, Matt Varnish? I'm like, yep. I basically walk in once every few months and clean out their entire supply of Humbrol Matte 49 rattle cans. It's frustrating because they don't put them in the right slot, so I have to go through all the different... They have like gloss, matte, acrylic, enamel, all the different rattle cans. I have to go through and see, because they're all hidden amongst each other. But they know because I walk in, 5 minutes later I come back with like a basket full of rattle cans of Matte Varnish. Yeah. They know me. I go into locust mode. You can buy Hobbycraft online, says Josh. Yep, you can. John, sorry, you can, but mine's just down the road. So before that, it was in Warrington. I don't go to Warrington. I've just had a flashback to Half-Life 2 there. We don't go to Ravenholm. We don't go to Warrington. Might I suggest some ILM-style Sharpie hash marks? Oh, you mean like little tick marks and little... I could do. That's an idea, actually. I might do. I've got Sharpies. I've also got my Uniposca paint pens, which are actually a bit finer than Sharpies. And if I was doing this for myself, and there wasn't all this stuff down here, I'd do a shark mouth, but there's a wing and there's gubbins in the way. I was going to do this in kind of ILM style, Star Wars style colour scheme, but I need to sell it. So, Weebadoodle says, "Oh God, so you're the one who takes all the matte varnish?" Yeah. If you ever go in there and there's no matte varnish, but there's like 300 cans of enamel matte varnish and like enamel satin varnish, yeah, I've been in and cleaned them out. Sorry about that. So look what's happening. Weebadoodles, I just draw and paint far too many dragons and griffins and stuff. I can't really do things like dragons and stuff because I think because my mojo has never been into fantasy. So animal people I can do, but even then I kind of ran out of ideas, and I'm kind of a one-trick pony when it comes to the drawings. Chris the Pyro, darn, I'm 2 hours late. Wow, what time is it? What time actually is it? Is it? Good God, it's 11:51. I'm being over for 2 hours. I'll have to stop soon. Look, I've painted 6 paint chips. It's brilliant. My usual workflow is continuing. With a double O. There's yet a Ben. I did grab some bargain bin gouache. I tell you what, they have got in the Altrincham Hobbycraft. I keep saying Warhammer. In the bargain bin near the tills, they have a massive basket completely full of pots of Mod Podge. And if you don't know what Mod Podge is, MODPODGE, Mod Podge, primarily it's used in crafting for doing things like decoupage, which to most of us means nothing. However, there's 2 things you can do in Mod Podge as a model maker. One, you can use it to make water. So if you've got a model ship and you want to put it on the sea, it's like very thick PVA almost. You can put it on the surface, you can sculpt it into waves, and it will dry clear. And then you can put blue paint underneath it, like on the baseboard, and it'll look like the sea, and you can paint white foam over it and stuff. So you can use it to make water, or you can have like calm lakes and ponds. You just kind of slap it on and smooth it out. So it's a bit like very thick PVA, and it's like very thick resin or something. You can do that with it. The other thing you can do in Mod Podge is, if you have a piece of paper, and let's say you find a picture online, and a picture of some graffiti, you print that graffiti out. Normal, I think it might need to be a laser printer, but it could be an inkjet. Print it onto a normal piece of A4 paper. And then what you do is, if I remember rightly, you put the piece of paper on the model, you cover it in Mod Podge, and you let it dry. And then if it works, if I got this right, when you pull the paper off gently, what you do, you get a wet paintbrush once it's dried. Get yourself a wet paintbrush, you get some water, and you just gently rub it, and all the paper goes away. And the thing that was printed on the paper is now on your model. It's like a way of doing a cut of decal. It doesn't look brilliant. It's great for if you're doing a really weathered thing that's got some old graffiti on it that's all chipped and faded and worn. But it's just a way of getting decal. I think that's what decoupage is when people that do furniture. I know a girl, or knew a girl that did. She took like an old piece of furniture, painted it, and then printed some designs on paper and decoupaged them onto it, so it had flowers going down it and stuff. So, yeah, I need to pick some of that up at some point. But then again, I don't do ships, so I don't need to do water. The rear thrusters look good. They're going to feature in the next vid. They're part 5. Part 5 is up on Patreon now. I think non-patrons have just got part 2. Part 3 is due out on Sunday, and then I think part 4 is Monday. This is released to everybody else, because everything goes up for patrons for a week, and then is released to everybody else. That's the advantage patrons get. They get things a week in advance. They get like a week early access. So the next piece up for everybody should be, I think, Sunday, which is part 3. Part 3 is painting the dudes. If you haven't seen them, these are the dudes. I can't show you the pilot because it's under a little masking tape. But those are my little spec puppies. I've got to do some weathering to them, because when I've done this chipping, I've got to do chipping on them and some weathering on them. So I think part 3 is the dudes. Part 4 is... Part 4 is... I can't remember what part 4 is now. Part 3 is the dudes, painting the figures, I think. Part 2 was the interior. Part 3 was the figures. Part 4 is... Oh, part 4 is painting all the blue, the base colours. So the blue and airbrushing it all, and what I called airbrush glazing, which I completely made up. it probably isn't a thing. Part 5 will be the yellows, the blacks, and all the details. And then part 6 is this live stream, which obviously everybody gets, which is this chipping. And then in part 7, I'll probably I'll go into chipping in more detail. I'll explain it and all and stuff like that. So, but yes, you will show that. That is dead simple. That is lead belcher. Go over it with some Nuln Oil, let it dry brush it with Necron compound. But the reason I've done these now, because I'm going to matte varnish this, when all the weathering's, it's going to get gloss, then the decals and weathering, and then it get matte varnished. Then I'll go and paint all the gold and shiny parts. The reason I've done these now is, yes, they will get covered in matte varnish and they'll go matte, but then I'm going to go back and do more dry brushing, because then you'll get 3 colours. You'll get the original silver from lead belcher, you'll get the dark silver from the lead belcher with the Nuln Oil, you'll get the silver where it's the lead belcher covered in Nuln Oil and then dry brush with the Necron compound, which is now matte. And then you get the 4th colour, which will just be the fresh Necron compound, which will be shiny. And then I might do either some graphite on the very edges just to make it bling, or I might get some of the durable moomin, which is somewhere, duraluminium from Vallejo, just to do some edge highlighting or little chips. I might do some metallic chips on some of those pots to give them little sparkly bits. So, I mean, a lot of models will just leave it like that, but I'm going to matte varnish over them to do other things. This bit is different. All the silver bits are lead belcher, 1 coat of Nuln Oil, and a dry brush of Necron compound. This was 1 coat of lead belcher, coat of Nuln Oil, and then a thinned coat of Agrax Earthshade. It was 3 parts Lamian Medium, which is Labia Mermaids, which is the clear, it's a shade without any colour in it. And 1 part Agrax Earthshade, so it was the thin wash that just gave it a little slight brown tint. And then I dry brushed it with the Necron compound. But again, that'll get matted over and then dry brushed again afterwards at the end. So, yeah. What we doing? Mod Podge says, we're Weebadoodles. You can use it as a glaze varnish-ish, yes? I've used it in sketchbooks. I've painted covers to protect it, yep. It's more of an artist product, but as always, model makers can completely second it into their own needs. It looks like that dude's on a pizza delivery Vespa. That'll be my motorbike space puppy. His little bit's fallen off the front. I'd be worried if my pizza delivery guy turned up with a grav pistol and a backpack with a wolf skull on it. But then again, I probably wouldn't be worried. I'd probably be like, dude, that's an awesome bike. I wish I could join more Patreon, says Weebadoodles. Thank you very much. Well, Patreon's one of those things that I love you if you're able to support me, but I still love you even if you can't. So don't worry. I do now have a $1 option, because I know a lot of people can't afford $5 a month. So I've now got a $1 option as well, which gives you access to some of the Patreon stuff. So that gives you access to every Patreon I've got gets the early access stuff a week before. There's some things they won't get a week before, like live streams, Bobs. We can't do those a week before. And little news updates, I'll just do them to everybody. But for main stuff. What's in part 6? Hang on, what did I say? Part 5 was the colours. Part 6 is this. This is part 6, technically. It'll be in the playlist as part 6. Not really explain much, but it'll be part 6. Part 7, Mike Mountain. Yes, Mike Mountain says part 7, there will be. I can go past 6. There are numbers past 6. Vincent says, Fox, question. Why not grab the Mr. Metal colour iron for that? You used it on the thruster for Yamato, and you basically get that effect with just 1 paint and some buffing. I could do, but like I say, I'd have to do that after I've done all the other weathering. And I didn't want, if I did that, I could do that, but I kind of like the look of this anyway. What I basically have to do is get everything painted, leave the engines, get all the weathering done, so gloss it, decals, gloss, weathering, matte varnish, come back and do all the gold and the shiny bits, and then paint the engines afterwards so you get that shine from them. I just wait to get them done. I quite like this effect. It kind of fits with the Warhammer aesthetic, and part of me has got to think along the lines of I need to sell it, and I don't want to get too fancy because there's only so much I can do. Because whoever buys this might actually want to play with it on the table, so I can't get too fancy. Because if I get too fancy, then it's just stuff that's going to come off when they're handling it, and it's got to be roughhouseable because they're going to be like putting it on the table and sticking it in their box and driving it around in the back of the car and standing on it. So. Yeah. If I was doing it for myself, I might do. Patreon also adds VAT for K-peeps too. They do, actually. They do add VAT. They have to, though, technically. It's kind of a legal requirement. Used it in the past, hence the question. Yeah, it was partly laziness, partly I love using the Citadel paints, so I wanted to kind of stick with the Citadel paints. Plus, they're kind of stinky to brush with. I do like them, the Mr. Metal colours, but I have the same problem with Mr. Metal colours that I have with these Vallejo ones, the metal colours. Strange name, same name. They are beautiful paints, but for painting big areas, you've got to be really careful. Not so much with the Mr. Metal colours, but especially with these ones. On big areas, they can come out not quite as shiny. If you brush them on carefully and thinly, this colour comes out kind of a bit like that. This is best applied with a lot of paint on the brush, and you're just letting it flow. And it just flows, and it's like liquid mercury. It's just like, that's how it works best. If you're carefully brushing stuff on in little amounts, it doesn't look the same. And if I'm going around the back of these engines, trust me, painting these engines was a right pain in the backside. You can't really have a full brush and go slapping it around. So there's trade-offs with that. If I hadn't put these parts on, I would have done, actually. I kind of wished I'll tell you what I do regret is gluing these side wings on before I painted this yellow stripe. Because I had to get all the way down there. There's like no space down there. I've got a long detailing brush that I got in there with. That's why I haven't done the triangles all the way around, because I can't get down there to do the triangles. If you're building this, don't glue these bits on. Yeah, Duncan doesn't tell you that when he paints it. He forgets to tell you that bit. His is all fully asleep. I'm going to paint the triangles on. There you go. I bet he hasn't painted them down there. But he doesn't show you that bit. What do these finished models go for when you sell them, says Andrew Thatcher? I don't know. When I finished a model, I look back at how many hours it took, and I kind of work it based on that. But depends on the model. If you wanted a very basic rule of thumb, the very least I would charge would be the number of hours I spent working on it times minimum wage. So if the minimum wage is currently about £7 and I spend 100 hours building and painting a model, that's £700. So it's not cheap. One of the reasons I stopped doing commissions was A, it's too stressful, but B, people don't understand how much stuff costs. So they might, somebody once contacted me and say, hey, can you build me this particular kit? And I said, yeah, that'll be fine. I can build that kit for you. I'd estimate it's about 100 hours. That will be and the price I quoted. And he's like, oh, but the kit's only worth, the kit itself is only £50. And I'm like, yeah, you're looking at 100 hours of work. I think he wanted to pay like a couple of £100, and I'm like, I could get more money working at McDonald's. You pay me about 35p an hour. That's not how it works. So a lot of people didn't understand how pricing works. So they look at model and they see a £50 model kit that they have to pay many hundreds of pounds for. And they're like, well, that's ridiculous. Like, yeah, but you're paying for my hours work. You're paying for the time I've put into it. You're paying me to sit there for 100 hours and paint this thing, but you expect to pay me less. It's like your boss comes to you and says, hey, I need you to work hard, but if I pay you like £1.50 an hour and you work just as hard, you'd be like, ooh, not in any way, shape or form, thank you very much. But for this, I don't know yet. I mean, I've not even started figured out how I'm going to do the diorama base and stuff. It's going to come with a diorama base with these figures on it, and there'll be a separate flyer base if the person wants to take it off the diorama base and put it on a flyer stand to play it in a game. That's going to up the price. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, so it depends how many hours go into that. And it's just kind of, I don't know. I don't know yet. Not cheap is the best way I can put it. Where do you sell them? Says John Bennett. I've got an eBay page, so I just pop them on eBay. Or I list it on my website as for sale. There is a section on modelmakingguru.com. If you want an idea of prices, I think I keep the prices on there. I don't know if I do though. If you go to modelmakingguru.com, there is a section for sale, and it lists all the ones. They've all been sold, but it still lists them on there. I can't remember if I keep the prices on there, but it gives you a rough idea. Some of them are quite cheap because they're older and they're not as good as I do now. I charge more now than I do for things 2 years ago because I'm better than I was 2 years ago and I put more time into things. Yeah. You can't undersell yourself, says Andrew Thatcher. Foxx, send you an exclusive sneak peek of how the big thrusters came out with Mr. Metal. I will have a look at that. I heard that email go bing bing on my phone. Weebadoodle says, yeah, people don't get how much time goes into painting stuff. I think people understand how much time, they just don't understand how that relates to money. Like, if I said to someone, you know, can you do something for me? How many hours will it take? It will take me 100 hours. I know if something's going to take 100 hours, I need to expect to pay at least 700 quid because British minimum wage is about £7.50 or £8 or something. So if I'm paying them less than that, I'm paying them less than minimum wage. And if, like me, this is your income, this is my living, I'm not working for less than minimum wage. It's not how it works. I could just go and get a job at McDonald's and have no pressure. And, well, I'd also be like 43 years too old, but there you go. I don't think they underestimate how long it takes. I think it's just they don't estimate. Wow, that whole sentence was just messed. They don't understand how much work goes into it and how much it actually costs. And again, the thing with any creative thing you do is that to you, when you look at your model or your painting or your picture and you look at it, you know what's gone into it and you understand how you did what you did. You see all the flaws. To someone who doesn't know how you do, to someone who doesn't even know how to paint a simple colour on a model or how to draw a simple picture, you know, if you go and show this to someone who's never painted a model in their life, doesn't know how to make a model or how to paint a model, they might say that's the most amazing thing ever. Whereas you or I might look at it and say, okay, well, that's a pretty basic technique. This bit's pretty good. We know the secrets. We know it's not as hard sometimes, but we have a better idea of how much work goes into it and what that work's worth. So to somebody who's no experience at all, they might just see a model that costs 50 quid to buy the kit and think, well, it's only going to cost me, what, an extra 50 quid for you to paint it? No, it's not how it works. Weebadoodle says, not just the time spent painting it, but like the time you spent learning and honing your skill. Well, you can't really charge for... if you go to law school, you can't charge someone as a lawyer based on how many years you spent in law school. You just charge them your hourly rate for being a lawyer. That's kind of... I can't charge them for that, but I can just charge them how long it took me to do it. But doing commissions sucks, and I don't do it anymore. Andrew says, yes, I used to do photography, and everyone was like, what stuff for free? It'd be good exposure for you. They would say, oh, there's nothing worse than that. I've had people say that. Hey, I'm such and such, and I have access to this many people. Would you paint a model, build a model for me, and I'll give you free PR? And it's like, no, not at all. I think it was some company, and they had a need for some display models. I can't remember what it was now. There might have been some air company or something. They wanted some nice planes to have on display, and they said, we'll put things there saying who it's from and who made them and stuff like that, and it'll be free PR and advertising. I'm like, no, how about you just like actually pay someone to do it rather than get someone to do it for free, because that's effectively slave labour and also not happening. No, thing for the free PR, because it never actually works. You never get anything out of it. It doesn't work. You'd get ripped off. If you're any kind of creative artist and somebody wants you to do something, they have to expect to pay you for it. That's how modern economics works. Like me saying to a plumber, hey, I know you do this for a living, but if you do fix my toilet for free, I'll tell everybody I know on the internet, because I've got 15,000 subscribers. I'll tell them all about you and you're brilliant. No. I'll want 300 quid for fixing your toilet, thank you very much. Let's have a look. Vincent says, I don't get that people see and buy models online for several hundreds, but they give you money to build them something that the same standard, and all of a sudden it has to be dirt cheap. Yeah, everybody wants something for nothing, basically. They don't understand. If you don't understand how things work, you don't understand what they're worth. Simple thing. He says, totally get where you're coming from, Fox. Panel lining might be simple, but on a big build or a build with lots of details, it's hours of work right there, easy or not. Oh yeah. Right. Well, I think that's going to do us, folks. Just going through the comments now. I think that's going to do us. It's been a couple of hours, and I've done, let's just be honest, bugger all. I always do. I always come on a live stream. Plan to do them when I've got something I can do and be distracted by, so like decals or denubbing or chipping, because I can talk to you guys. I'm not having to sit and concentrate and be really careful. But I always get nothing done because you guys are just too cool to hang around with. You're just a bad influence, all of you. You're all a bad influence. I've nearly put my paintbrush in my glass about 5 times. Oh, I need to go and get some more water. But yeah, it's only been a couple of hours, but thanks for coming along there, guys. I know it was late at night and it was like no notice whatsoever, so I appreciate everybody who came by. Good times as always. I will do as many of these as little live stream things as I can, as and when. Just when I'm doing stuff that I can pay attention to without paying attention to, if you know what I mean. So anytime I'm doing decals or chipping or denubbing, I'll do one of these live streams just because it's fun. But that's going to do us. So I'm just going to say thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this not live, then this is effectively part 6 of the build of the thing. In part 7, I'll probably explain about the chipping a bit more. I'll show it on camera and explain it a bit for those who didn't watch the live stream and don't want to sit through 2 hours of live stream with no explanations. But yeah, for patrons, part 5 has just gone up. So as soon as I've got this chipping done, patrons will obviously get part 6 anyway. As soon as I've got this chipping done, and I've almost got it done, I'll then start filming part 7. As soon as that's done, that'll go up on Patreon. For non-patrons, part 2 is already up, available for you. Part 3 should be out on Sunday, I think. Some point through Sunday. I think part 4 on Monday. I did a little batch of them in I had a few days. It took me about 3 days to paint all the dudes. So that's why there's like a 3-day gap between part 2 and part 3. Stand up. Stand up, Space Papier. So that's why there's a 2 or 3 day gap. I've just dropped my Space Puppy on his motorbike somewhere. There he is. That's why there's a gap, because it took me about 3 days to paint the dudes. I am not a speed painter. If I had an army, yeah. And one thing I will say about the painting the figures, for non-patrons who haven't seen it yet, when I filmed painting the figures, I started off by doing dry brushing, saying this is a fast way to paint your army of dudes. Dry brushing. Don't do that. I actually explain halfway through the video. I say, yeah, don't do that. It doesn't come out well. So, yeah, just keep that in mind when you watch the first sort of 10 to 20 minutes of that build where I'm dry brushing them. Is after a while I had to stop and just do layer paintings. Okay. Well, that's going to do us. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Take care of yourselves. I shall see you all again soon. Do take care. And until next time, as always, adios amoebas. Oh, wait, I can't just sit here and wave my hand because I've got to go over and press the button. Hang on. Oh, hang on, I'm waving. Space puppy. Somebody said, well, shouldn't they be space cubs? I'm like, nah, space puppy. Space puppy. And thank you to whoever the YouTube commenter was that suggested I put my wet palette on the lid of the sandwich box. That was just genius, that was. Anyway, I'm going to press the button now. Bye.